Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Winning Podcast, where we help you win. And today's guest, I have Mrs. Jackie Barnum. All right. I'm super excited to have you. How are you doing today?
I just realized this is my first podcast that I'm on where I'm married. That's so exciting. No one's introduced me like that before. I'm doing great.
That's fantastic. Well, first and foremost, I really appreciate you coming out for the interview, and you're doing some phenomenal things. And I'm going to just ask you some questions. We're just going to flow with it, right? Let me tell you what I saw. I saw a U.S. Marine with a lot of enthusiasm, a commissioned Marine out there kicking butt and taking names in the mentorship space. Okay, so we're going to just walk through step by step on how you got started. And I'm excited to get to know a little bit more about you. Okay.
Sounds great.
So where are you from?
I am originally from the Bay Area, so a little town called Benicia. It's about like an hour north of San Francisco. So Bay Area, born and raised. I actually never I lived in the same house my whole life. So
Really?
You could imagine that the military was a bit of a culture shock, not having ever moved. So yeah, that's where I'm from.
Absolutely. So you don't have any military background in your family at all?
No, not my parents. My grandfathers on both sides served, but not very long. My dad's father was like on the Marine Corps baseball team. I think he got out as like a corporal or something. But yeah, so no, and that's kind of why I care so much about mentorship, is because I kind of felt like I had to navigate a lot on my own. I didn't grow up having someone telling me about experiences or kind of encouraging me to do the military in the first place. So yeah, no military background.
Okay. Why the Marine Corps, man? Like, what made you pick the U.S. Marines?
It's the hardest. It's the most challenging. The way that, like when I was like in fourth grade, 10 years old, when I knew I wanted to be in the military, and the Marines just carry themselves different. Like they just are different. And I was like, whatever the most challenging thing is, like that's what I want. And that's my personality anyway, is I always want to do the thing that is kind of scary. So I knew like something that when something gives me that feeling inside where I'm like, ooh, that's like an unknown, there's no guarantee I might not make it. I'm like, okay, that's how I know I have to go for it. So
okay, so now you grew up. I didn't know you was from California. That's cool. So you know the Bay Area. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now what school did you go to?
I went for college.
Yes.
I went to the Naval Academy.
Okay, so you're a Naval Academy grad. My fraternity brother is Zerbin Singleton went to the Navy Academy. He is a Cobra pilot. So what was that experience like?
It was it was one of those like experiences where you love it, but you don't want to do it again. It's kind of like boot camp or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you have really good like funny memories, not necessarily good memories, but just like very just core memories. And so like I was 17 years old. I had to literally sign a paper to be like emancipated from my family because I was so young. I wasn't even 18 when I went. And you are just figuring out who you are as an adult and making this decision about your career. That's a decision you're making that's going to be at least 5 years after you graduate. So you're making a 10-year decision basically. And they tear you down to build you back up. You go through things with the people that you're there with, like they're your brother, literally like your brothers and sisters. It's really challenging academically. Like I did not excel academically. I like survived, I would say. I got through it. I basically felt like I was in fight or flight mode for just 4 straight years. But what I learned and what I experienced, like I could not imagine having done anything else. Like at no point, even though it was so challenging and difficult, I knew that's like where I was supposed to be. Like I never doubted my decision. I was like, this is where I am. Like I'm going to make it through. And there was no like talking me out. I never doubted it for 1 second.
Indeed. I like that, man. Now, if you were going to give anybody any advice that was looking into going to the Naval Academy, what would Jackie tell Jackie 17-year-old Jackie before she went into the Naval Academy, what advice would you give her?
Like preparation wise, maybe if I'm talking to someone who is interested in going to the academy and they're in high school, what's nice about the Naval Academy is that they are looking for somebody who's kind of the well-rounded person. You don't have to be really, really good at one thing, like a lot of Ivy Leagues. They want you to be a prodigy violinist or like a really, really smart chemist, like really good at one thing.
Right.
But the Naval Academy is coolest because it fits well with my personality, and someone who is interested in being in leadership positions, being team captains, being really involved, being, doing sports and doing just all kinds of things. So all of that combined, if you're that kind of personality, I would give advice to someone and say, like, do those things and do them really, really well. Like, do a lot of community service, participate in extracurricular activities, be a team captain, do all those things, because the academy wants people like that. Because ultimately, when you're an officer, you have to lead people and do a whole bunch of things and have a whole, tons of billets and tons of jobs. And you can't just be really good at one thing. You really need to be good at a lot of different things and be able to handle and juggle a lot of things.
That's good. That's pretty good advice. So essentially you're saying is, be the master at nothing, but kind of know how to do everything.
And be able to show that you can be challenged that way. Like you are good at taking more and more onto your plate and handling it and succeeding. Because ultimately the Naval Academy, the military, is designed to kind of put you under so much pressure and add so much onto your plate and then expect you to perform. Because at the end of the day, when we're in, chaotic situations, who is everyone looking to? They're looking to the officer to make decisions and think clearly and communicate. So that's kind of what it's preparing you for. And if you have that personality, then that's probably a really good place for you to go.
Based off of your tenure at the school, what did you see? Did you see a lot of people washing out?
Interestingly, so I actually taught at the Naval Academy Prep School as one of my jobs. So that was really cool to kind of be like go full circle to go through that program and then like be in charge of the kids that were going through it. And what I noticed is if you're gonna leave, it's gonna be within the first like 24, 48 hours.
Oh,
it's pretty immediate.
Okay.
I would say the majority of them kind of get like hit really quickly in the face and are like, this isn't for me. And I think a lot of it has to do with being separated from like their phones and technology. They just like can't really handle that. Honestly, like because because that generation especially is growing up with phones in their hands and being glued to their phones.
Yeah.
So when you take that away, because the first few weeks is like that indoctrination period where you don't have a phone, you get 3 phone calls over 3 months. So a lot of them are shocked by that, and then they want to go, they need to leave right away. And then maybe like the other 10% are the ones that maybe their parent really wanted them to go, and they were kind of unsure themselves but didn't want to disappoint a family member. And they just weren't sure if that was really their dream. So most people, because it is so competitive, I don't think a lot of people leave because every spot is like so precious almost, like the stats are like 50,000 people apply and like our class size is 1,200 people. So you really had to work hard to just get your spot in the first place. So not too many people leave necessarily. And it's not really designed to, like boot camp, it's not designed to have people quit. Like we don't want people to quit. We want you to just kind of be pushed and challenged and then see the potential. Like we don't expect you to be an officer on day one. Like that's the point. So you have 4 years to become an officer and be developed. And I think people usually stick with it because they already have that kind of like overachiever, non-quit personality.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. Now, one question I did forget to ask you is siblings. Do you have any siblings?
I have one older sister.
Okay.
She's 8 years older. She actually went to NYU for musical theater.
Okay,
So
complete opposite.
Very
of what you
different.
did.
But interestingly, she was on the road a ton because she did shows. So she
Right.
did like national tours of Mamma Mia and Evita. And then she was on the Disney cruise for several years where she was like on deployment all the time, or she was like living on a ship. So it's kind of like very different careers, but interestingly, like lifestyle wise, she was like, on the road and like deployed kind of a lot. She
Now,
spent more time on a ship than I have.
now, what's crazy about that is like, did you have anybody, mom or dad, have fear of you joining the Marine Corps?
Yes, definitely like, yeah, hesitation and a little like apprehension just because of the unknown. Like they don't know. Because I think for a lot of people that don't have military background, you think of the Marine Corps and you just think infantry. And you just
Yeah.
kind of have that image in your mind of what is on TV shows and in the movies, and people don't realize that the Marine Corps is so big and the job opportunities are so vast.
Mhm.
And being in the infantry was not like the only path that there is.
Sure. Yeah.
So they now, of course, 10 years later, I've been in for 11 years. They now understand and see, because I'm a logistics officer now. So we support the infantry and we get them to where they need to go and we do all those things, but we're not like, I'm not in the field 24/7 and I'm not like, you know what I mean? So they definitely were hesitant at first, but they never discouraged me or tried to talk me out of it. They knew like I'm the kind of person, like if I have my mind set on something, them convincing me otherwise is only going to make me want to do it more. So they've always been really, really wonderful and supportive.
Now, one thing that I can say about the logistics community, the big four, right? People misinterpret the power of that MOS because you guys are the glue of the company, and everybody comes to you all for deployment, for anything operating in the business and things of that nature. And you can transition out to any company that does any type of movement and planning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would you tell a new S4 officer coming into the fleet?
A new S4 officer. Wow. Ask questions.
Yeah.
When you're an S4, that means that you're in charge of the logistics for the whole battalion or whatever. You fortunately have a gift of having staff NCOs that are in charge of all the sort of like subsections under you. So you'll have an armory chief, a maintenance management chief, a logistics chief.
Sometimes
like
motor
you,
team,
when you're,
armory.
yeah, exactly. When you're new, especially as a new second lieutenant, like you rely on them so much. And so don't be afraid to ask them questions because their job is to teach you and to guide you and mentor you. Like, again, when you're a second lieutenant, you're not expected to know everything about logistics right out of logistics school. It's 3 months. Like, how can you, and it's just a fire hose of information. You're only going to learn on the spot. So just being humble is my number one piece of advice. Is you're not going to have all the answers, but they're going to have a lot of the answers. And so rely on them. They're there to help you and to help you grow.
And man, stop thinking that S4 is the misfits of the unit, man, because S4 is, they're the ones that keep you guys in check, make sure the unit runs smooth. So give some love to your S4 staff and COIC and officer. Now, what is the next military goal that you want to achieve? What's something that you have your eyes set on?
That's a very good question. I'm at kind of not like a crossroads maybe, but I'm at that halfway point in my career where everyone's like, oh, obviously you're staying until 20. I'm like, I guess so. I don't know. Like, I didn't even know I'd be in this long. I really thought I would do my 5-year commitment and move on, but I've loved every duty station I've been at. I've loved every unit I've been at. And so I've continued to stay in. So now I'm at that point where being a major, I'm going to school next year in Quantico for command and staff for a year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then, but after that, it's kind of like, okay, looks like you're probably going to be like an OPSO for a CLB or like, logistics unit or an EXO or something like that. So that is kind of what the path traditionally is for that. But I love working with students so much. So if I can at all get back to the Naval Academy to
Okay.
teach there, like that's always been my dream. Like I love it there. I love that age group. Working at the prep school was the best tour I ever had. So being able to go back to Annapolis, that's my goal. So we got to manifest that. But
Okay, monitors, y'all heard that, right? She's telling y'all what she wants, man. Or, MCRD San Diego wouldn't be too bad being an XO down there.
that wouldn't be too bad. You're right. That's San Diego, so I'd be okay.
Okay, fantastic. Now that we talked about your personal life, I want to talk about your and your military career. I kind of want to transition into your mentoring company. What's the name of your company?
Mentors in Service.
Okay, and tell us how you had to change your name. Get a little drama in there.
Oh gosh. So, there's another podcast. So initially we were thinking, like, long story short, we were kind of trying to think of names because our nonprofit serves all ranks of all branches. So we're trying to think of something like generic and all encompassing and something that would make sense from the name. So we initially named it Mentors for Military. Turns out that that's a company that exists. That's a podcast. So check them out, I guess. Like, I think I've had friends that have been on that podcast. I never in my imagine that a podcast and a nonprofit would like have any sort of like overlapping thing. Turns out, whatever, they wanted me to change it. No problem at all. Changed it to Mentors in Service. So we've been operating as Mentors in Service for 90% of the time that we've been in existence. So it's all good now, but that was the only little like hiccup where we're like, oh shoot, I didn't even think that. I don't know.
And where did that idea come from? What made you come up to say, there is a problem that I need to solve in the military?
So the program I didn't wake up one day and be like, this is a problem I need to solve. It really interesting. This is what I love most about our program is that it kind of was born organically. So when I was at the Naval Academy Prep School, it was during COVID, and the kids, our 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, couldn't leave base for a whole year. Couldn't even leave base, And so I was trying to think of ways to just like get morale up. Because you could imagine they don't have any sports. They have no in-person classes, nothing. And so I would be in my office was in their dorm space, basically. So I was like kind of all they had, and they were all I had. It was in Rhode Island. I don't have family over on the East Coast. So we started making like TikTok sort of trending videos together. And they were like, ma'am, you should make a reel. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. Teach me what that is. And so they started teaching me about just social media in general. And so then my following started to grow a little bit. And I was like, let me try to use this kind of as a platform to maybe talk about leadership things and my experience in the Marine Corps. And so then my following continued to grow. And so then I started getting messages that were like, what is it like at officer candidate school? And I was like, well, I didn't go there. I went to the Naval Academy, so I don't have that experience. But maybe someone that follows me can help you. And so I posted like, hey, mentor needed, just talk to someone about OCS. And I got like 10 responses, like, that's me, that's me, that's me. And so that was like my first mentee connection, where I was like, hey, all these people would like to talk to you. Here you go. And then again, I started getting questions about the Navy, about being a supply officer. Well, I'm not in the Navy. Who can do this? Boom. And so then I was like, okay, interesting. I think we're onto something here. So I sent like a form out, and I was like, every Monday, I'm going to consolidate all of the requests and post them every single week. And so from there, for the last 3-4 years, every single Monday, we post anywhere between 5 and 40 mentor requests a week. And time again, we have people responding saying, that's me, I can help. Here's my email, my contact info, here's my bio. And we've tracked and recorded every single mentor. So we have over like 3,000 mentors in our
That is
system.
fantastic.
Yeah. So that's how and it's just so interesting because I really didn't wake up and say, I want to start a mentor program today. But I just being me as Jackie would never, if someone asked me a question and needed help, I would never just be like, sorry, I can't help you. Like, it's in my nature just to be like, I can't
Find the
help,
answer.
but I will find someone. Exactly.
And you know what's crazy about that? That's kind of how your MOS is too.
Yeah, you're so right.
That's exactly how that MOS is. It's like, hey, you're the Swiss Army knife of getting stuff done, right?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So now you are a nonprofit 501c3, correct?
Yes.
Okay, how hard was that to get?
It was more like arduous and frustrating because it's, having to file the paperwork and it's so funny, like, because you have to do like through the state and then also the IRS. And so like the California State Franchise Board or whatever it's called.
Expensive, by the way.
Expensive. And like the form, it's like, do you have any jets and any private? I'm like, what nonprofits have like jets and stuff like this? I'm just like a tiny little nonprofit. So it's just like more. And then of course, if there's one thing wrong, they have to send you mail back and it's all snail mail. So it just was like long. And so I think it took a good like 4 months of just like dedicated trying to get paperwork done and trying not to fall into the traps of like LegalZoom. Like, we'll do everything for you, but we're going to charge you $1,000. Like, you can do it all yourself, which I prefer to do because I want to understand the process. I don't just want to like have some third party do it for me because so it was annoying, but worth it because now we can, I can have my team of people. I have 6 people that work for me, like foundationally, we're all good. So now you want like that good foundation so that you can grow on it. Like if I would not be able to be operating, honestly, like officially without doing all that. So
that's really good advice, guys. And one of the biggest reason why nonprofits and for-profit businesses fail is the admin is not together. Especially for a nonprofit, you have to have a really good mission and vision, and you have to solve a problem. So before you guys go filing your 501c3 or 508 or whatever it is, make sure you're solving the problem because nonprofits are not for profit. They're supposed to be serving the community. So just remember that. You can have your directors or your board of directors take payroll and pay people outside of the nonprofit, but you have to be very, very careful on how you structure that because if people are donating, they want to see that money is going towards the cause.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because we're not a nonprofit that is like feeding the hungry. Like we don't have anything tangible that you can hold in your hand that we're providing. We're providing a service. So like, how do you prove that we're actually like really helping anyone? And my answer to that is like, we directly impact recruiting and retention.
Oh, big time.
So
that's good.
Yeah.
Wow. See, I didn't even think about that. So essentially, if let's just say a person is about to get out and they don't know what they should do, you can provide mentorship for that.
Right. And we do. A girlfriend of mine, she was interested in the Congressional Fellowship Program, which is like a cool program offered where you get your master's and then you are assigned to someone on the Hill for a few years as a payback tour. It's a really cool opportunity. And she was interested in that. We gave her mentors who had done that program and submitted that package. She followed their footsteps, got accepted.
Wow.
And I don't know. I don't have a data point on if or not that retained her necessarily, but like I would say that it contributed to that. Like she got the program that she wanted. Now she's in for another 4 years just because we were able to help her with that goal of hers.
That's fantastic. Now, what is the biggest challenge that you faced with being a service member and then running your own personal organization?
Just time. It's hard because I wanted to help as many people as possible, but I just only have so many hours in the day. And a lot of those hours are obviously in my office at work where I cannot spend on the nonprofit. So, and then I also coach workout classes a few times a week. And so that takes up a few hours of my time. And I have my husband who I want to spend time with and our dog. And then, okay, now we can work on making the budget for the nonprofit. I by hand email I send about 40 emails a week to all the mentors and mentees that I'm making sure that they're getting matched up with who they want. And so that's the hardest thing. It's just I want it to be huge and I want it to help so many people, because even if there's like my one program, okay, we've helped over 3,000 people so far, but there's like 16 million veterans, so it would take so many of my nonprofit to like even make a dent. So I just feel like I want to do so much more with it, but it just comes down to time and then money, like it's always hard because if you want to scale something, there's a dollar sign attached to everything. And it's not in our nature, especially as like Marines, to be like, we need money, like I need help. So I'm just really bad at like that part personally. Like, I'm constantly trying to work on like, how can I get the funds also to like support the goal, because you were kind of like limited by the amount of funds you have available. Just in terms of like the people on my team, I can't like keep hiring on more people because the lights won't be able to stay on for another 2 months,
Yeah.
So yeah, those two things.
Well, I definitely understand that. And then, so I know in the beginning, when we had an earlier discussion, that you had like a little conflict with doing your business, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that and how you were able to overcome that challenge?
With the name?
Not
or
the name.
the Mentors for Marines?
Mentors for Marines on Base.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So basically, as I've been making this program, the Coast Guard has an official DoD sponsored, funded Coast Guard program, mentorship program, which is awesome. But the Coast Guard's so small. It's so funny because they get like, I think they told me they got $75,000 or $250,000 to like run this program, and it's for like 2,000 people because the Coast Guard's so small.
Man.
So I'm like laughing in my head because I'm doing the math where I'm like, okay, I am operating off of like $20,000 for way more. But anyways, but they're great. They're very like collaborative. They reached out. We had an awesome phone call. So anytime I have a Coast Guard request that I can't find a mentor for, I shoot it over to them and they look through their database. They're like, yep, here you go. Here's some Coast Guard mentors. Perfect. And then one time they happened to mention that they're like, oh, did you know that the Marine Corps is making a mentor program, like an official, using our same software? They've already spent $75,000 on this initial software pilot program. I was like, interesting. I did not know. No one like reached out to me about that. And so I was trying to like go through my Rolodex, like who do I know at Headquarters Marine Corps that I can like talk to? Because I'm like, what the heck? Like this is my space. Like how dare you like get on my turf or whatever? But I had to calm myself down. And I never was really able to get through to like anybody, because I honestly was like, if nothing else, I can at least provide what's working for my program, what's not, like my feedback. I've been in this space now for 4 years.
Even consulting.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I just want to help. At the end of the day, that's just my goal, is how can I help? And never heard anything. And then a MAR admin came out that was like, Mentors for Marines pilot program. And I just felt, honestly, like kind of just
it's disappointed.
It's disappointing. Yeah, because I just wish like it's not that they know that my program exists. And so I just would have loved it if they reached out and just talked to me and like were more open arms with like wanting to collaborate. But now at this point, about a month ago, an email came out to everybody that signed up that just said this pilot program is indefinitely paused. So I don't know the reason. I don't know anything about, again, like I'm not involved at all in that program. But I just know that is kind of the blessing, because I did at one point have a phone call with the Undersecretary of Defense's Assistant Undersecretary of Defense for PNR, and talked about my mentor program. And I was like, this was when we really were like very new and really trying to get off the ground, and funding was a huge issue. And I said to her, like, would the DoD ever want to be part of my program? Because we serve all the branches, we even like get Space Force requests, And she was like, I would be wary of that. I would be wary about being federalized in any way, because once the government is involved, they are really good at screwing things up or taking them over. And though at the time I was like, but I really want like some sort of like help from somebody, and that would be cool. But now looking back, I'm like, that was very good advice, because no one can really tell me to stop doing. Like, I'm not under someone's thumb, really. Like what we do, like in our mission, is ours, and it's just like I'm just kind of looking back. I'm like happy that I didn't pursue that more, because we're continuing to operate regardless of the DoD programs that exist and their funding issues and how they're operating. Like, we are continuing to provide mentors.
But what's crazy about that is that you got Dunkin' Donuts on the base. You have all these other organizations. You got the Marine Corps League and everything else. Why not just contract with the company that already has it figured out? And I think Marine Corps, I'm going to tell y'all something, man. I'm just going to be honest with you. If somebody's doing something well, you might want to see how you can be complementary to what they're doing instead of trying to recreate the wheel. Why try to recreate the wheel when the Lamborghini's already built? All you got to do is get in and drive it. So this is my advice to you. I would talk to your battalion commander and say, hey, look, I want to see if I can write a letter to Headquarters Marine Corps, right? Or I am writing a letter to Headquarters Marine Corps and ask them to look it over for you, and then send it up to the powers that be. Because sometimes I feel like, if you don't make enough noise, nothing's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes you got to take that risk, because the same thing happened to me. In 2008, I had a sergeant major on Miramar write a cease and desist letter because Marines was coming to me to invest in real estate or use their VA loan. And if I would have quit at that, and it was a crazy letter saying that, you're not to solicit and further communication with Marines on your lunch break will result in getting disbarred from Miramar. And I'm like, bro, really? Like, why don't you just tell me that you don't want me to do this at work and on my lunch break? Because what I was doing is, so many Marines were coming to my office asking me questions, right? But I want to give a special shout out to Sergeant Major Wickham and Colonel Erickson, retired, a JAG officer, because if it wasn't for you guys letting me know how to navigate the system, I wouldn't have my program where it is today. So I want to say thank you. I do have another question for you. Is there anybody in your organization that you would like to shout out? A special person? It could be the first person that supported you or the person that gives you the most support outside of your husband. Can't give a shout out to the boo, right? But is there somebody that gave, that you remember that helped you advance the ball as with your mentorship program?
Probably he's now our chief technology officer. So this is it's a cool story where, so I was a company officer at the Naval Academy Prep School, and I actually was the company officer for his son, Isaiah. And that was my first year there, and that was when COVID was really bad. And the restrictions were, really hard on the kids. And I made it a point and I just really value, especially at that age, the parents and family unit is so influential on those kids, and it really impacts their decision on if they stay or leave, or how well they do, or how bought into it they are. So I just knowing and really thinking that was important all along, the whole time I was there, I made a Google album of photos for all the parents, because they don't will hardly hear from their kids. They just want to know their kid is alive. So I all throughout their whole year, I was taking photos of everybody. When they had to go into quarantine, I fundraised money to get them like Chipotle or like get them some sort of non-chow hall food if I could. I did like Google Meets with the parents if they had any questions. I sent them quarterly, monthly emails to check in. So I wanted them to know that who I was and that I was taking care of their kids because there was nobody else. Like, and they're all far away. They can't come to visit. Like, and they just want to know their kid's okay. So, not knowing who Isaiah's father and mother are, I fast forward to when I had a kind of realization December 2023, October 2023, actually. And I was looking at my mentor program. This was before it was a nonprofit. And I was doing everything by myself. And I had 150 unmet requests.
Oh.
And I was like, I am drowning. I need help. I need a website or I need something to help me scale this and automate this. And so I just posted on my story. I was like, I am looking for like a web developer, someone who can just help me scale this program. And Isaiah's father, his name is Chuck, DM'd me back and he said, if no one else gets back to you on this, like I got you. And so we set up a phone call and we always laugh about this because I was like, oh, I just need a simple website. Just a simple website. Okay, it's not simple at all. We're still working on it. But he, on his own, just volunteered to help. And I was like, Chuck, I promise, like, I will pay you somehow. I can't right now, but like at some point I will. And he's like, the way that you treated our son and took care of him, like this is how we're thanking you. Like this is our repayment.
That's
back.
Awesome.
And so he's been with us for now, over a year. We have our weekly meetings. He's on our board now and he's developed, he's just like very involved, very, very supportive. So he's the first person that comes to my mind because he just kind of, without expecting anything in return, was just like, I'm going to help. And this is something that's not easy. It's time consuming to create from nothing, create a website. So he's spent countless hours for us, which is never asking for anything in return.
That's fantastic, man. That is fantastic. Now, I have one last question for you. Can you tell us where to find your mentorship company? And then what's the best way to reach out to you?
So the mentor program is called Mentors in Service, and you can go to mentorsinservice.org if you want to sign up on our online portal to get a mentor, or you can follow me at Jackie Barnum, JACKIEE.Barnum, because spelling my name normally is taken, of course. And so if you want a mentor, check my stories every Monday. If you want a mentor, if you want to be a mentor, that is extra critical, is checking my story. So to become a mentor and respond to those requests. And then I'm also on LinkedIn, but Instagram is my primary way that we do our business. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, I want to say, first and foremost, I really love what you're doing. Congratulations on getting promoted to major, number one, having a successful career in S4, and then having a kick-ass mentorship program. And I look forward to supporting you in any way that I can. And guys, this has been a phenomenal show. I really appreciate you guys. For more information on how to win, go to TonyGlennII.com, where we help you win at all aspects of life. We do VA loan masterclasses every third Thursday, and then also we have them every other Saturday. So for more information, again, you can text WIN to 760-573-2731. And once again, Jackie, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
And keep winning.
Thanks.
All right.